American soccer is back, baby. After months of no competitive games featuring MLS sides, the CCL or Concacaf Champions League returns next week. And if you know the drama and craziness that comes with the CCL, I bet you're excited. And if you don't know or haven't followed the CCL, this video will fill you in and welcome you to the torture that is CCL for American fans. Here's the basics. CCL is CONCACAF's version of the UEFA Champions League. This competition is where the best clubs from North America and Central America get to duke it out for a beautiful trophy and a berth into the FIFA Club World Cup. Each round at the round of 16 stage consists of a two-legged format where each team plays home and away, and then the final is played in a one-off match. This year's edition features 5 MLS clubs, 4 Liga MX, 2 Guatemalan, 2 Costa Rican, 1 Honduran, 1 Haitian, and 1 team out of Canada's CPL. The 5 MLS clubs include NYCFC as MLS Cup champions, New England Revolution as the Supporter Shield winners, CF Montreal as the Canadian Championship winners, Colorado Rapids as the top of the Western Conference, and the Seattle Sounders as the club with the best record who didn't top their conference. The trick in this competition though is that MLS has never won it. Since the CCL was born in 2008, the past 11 winners have come from Mexico. MLS has gotten to a couple finals, but we always fail. So trust me, it is super fun and exciting to feel confident, think MLS is going to win, and then ultimately crash out after the quarterfinals. And because I know, especially at this stage, there are multiple unknown teams to the average viewer, I'm going to break down the MLS matchups we have in this first stage of the competition and predict what's going to happen. With that being said, let's look into the first game, Calvary AS versus the New England Revolution. Calvary is a club coming out of Haiti, and this is their first ever CCL berth, and they achieved this through winning the FCCCC, the Flow Concacaf Caribbean Club Championship. Oh man, that's a mouthful. There's really no information other than that about this club, but they did win the Haitian League back in 2007 and finished in second place in their 2020 campaign. For the Revolution, they're only making their second appearance in this competition and their first since 2008. In that 2008 run, they played 2 games and lost both to Joe Public, a club based in Trinidad. Now, I wasn't even 10 years old at that time, so I have no clue if Joe Public was good or not, but they beat the Revs 6-1 on aggregates, so yeah, I don't know. At least for their return in 2022, they're coming off winning a Supporter Shield, and they're going to want to grab another trophy after falling out of the first round in the playoffs last year. We've seen them bring in some depth to help out as they battle through multiple competitions, which has included Sebastian Lletget and Omar Gonzalez, who has some winning experience in the CCL with Pachuca in 2016. Speaking of experience though, head coach Bruce Arena has coached 29 games in this competition with the LA Galaxy through the first half of the 2010s. He also won this type of competition back in 1998 with DC United before it was called the CONCACAF Champions League. As you can probably tell, and like most of these first round matchups, the MLS clubs are very strong favorites, and both legs of this tie will be played in New England, so the Revolution should easily come away through this fixture. Next up, and excuse my pronunciation here, is Santos de Guápiles versus MLS Cup champions NYCFC. Santos, not to be confused with the Mexican club Santos, or the Brazilian one for that matter, comes from Costa Rica and is the 8th Costa Rican team to make an appearance in this tournament. Along with Calvary, this is their first time being in CCL. Santos has been around since 1961, but have never won their domestic league. And the only type of trophy I could ever find them winning is the Fair Play Trophy in the 2017 CONCACAF League. So again, a pretty oddball team coming up against the champions of MLS. Now this won't be the first time in the CCL for NYCFC as they played in this competition in 2020, but in that run they only made it past the round of 16 and eventually fell to Tigres. After securing the MLS Cup, head coach Ronny Deila frequently mentioned that the CCL was important. Therefore, I think this competition is going to be a very big priority for this team. They ended off 2021 on a very high note, and throughout the end of the regular season and heading into the playoffs, they were a very dangerous team running on a lot of momentum. Over the offseason, they have lost a few really great assets like James Sands to Rangers, Jesus Medina, and youngster Tijori Shradi, who played a vital role in their playoff push. but they have managed to keep Maxi Morales and, more importantly, Golden Boot winner Tati Castellanos at the time of this recording. So they're still going to have their top talent. One caveat to this game though is that for NYCFC's home leg, they'll actually be playing in LAFC Stadium in California. Now this shouldn't affect NYC too much because, like with the Revolution, NYCFC are clear favorites in this matchup, but it's still important to note. The third matchup we have is the only MLS vs Liga MX game in this first round. Santos Laguna up against CF Montreal. Now Santos are one of the most experienced clubs when it comes to CCL. They've played the second most games in this competition with 58, but this is their first time back in the competition since 2019. Now they've never won this tournament before, but they have come as runner-up on 2 occasions. Here's where it gets scary though. Santos has a 19-game unbeaten run at home in the CCL, and in their 29 home games, they've only lost once, and that was all the way back in 2010. So as if away games in Mexico for MLS teams weren't hard enough, they're going to have a hell of a time trying to secure an away win at the Estadio Corona. If there's a sliver of hope for Montreal though, it would be that Santos has started off rough in their first 4 Liga MX games, currently sitting on 3 losses and a draw. Now for Montreal's history in this competition, it's been a fun but heartbreaking tale. They qualified for this year's CCL through the Canadian Championship, and this is their 5th appearance in the competition. The last time Montreal played in CCL was in 2020, where they impressively took out Costa Rican powerhouse Saprissa, but eventually fell to the Honduran club Olimpia in the quarterfinals. But back in 2014-15, this club pulled off one of the best underdog stories in this competition's history by making it to the finals, where they eventually lost to Club America. Montreal had a very impressive 2021 MLS season, and even though they just missed out of the playoffs, this team under first-year head coach Wilfried Nancy was a hard-working side. Georgi Mihailovic, a key playmaker, dished out a team-high 16 assists along with 4 goals. Although I love this Montreal side and I really respect what they've done over this past year, I can't see them knocking out Santos. But honestly, a less congested schedule should benefit this club to making a full push to the MLS playoffs in 2022. The second to last matchup we'll cover is Comunicaciones vs Colorado Rapids. Comunicaciones is the most decorated team from Guatemala and has 30 league titles to their name. This is their 7th appearance in CCL, but they've never made it past the quarterfinals, and that was all the way back in 2009. Currently, the Guatemala League is 22 games into their season, and Comunicaciones are pushing for the title, sitting in 2nd place. While they're in mid-season form, the Colorado Rapids are just coming off pre-season. Colorado is making their 3rd appearance in this competition, and the first since 2018. In MLS last year, they surpassed expectations by topping the West, but fell in the first match of the playoffs. This Colorado team is all about working as a unit. With no real star DPs, this team has been crafted through persistence and teamwork. They did lose USMNT player Kellen Acosta this offseason, and also sent Sam Vines and Cole Bassett to Europe as well. With no huge acquisitions over the break too, I do question how far this team can go in the CCL this year, but I expect them to move on to the quarterfinals for the first time in their history. And finally, the last matchup featuring an MLS club is Motagua against the Seattle Sounders. This Honduran club is making their 6th appearance in the CCL this year. Motagua was founded in 1928 and is one of the most known teams from Honduras. A little interesting fact about this team is that whenever a player makes his debut for the club, it's tradition to have them shave their head. Now, I don't know if this will benefit the Sounders in any way in this match, but it's a nice little mental note we can make. Motagua just recently started their domestic campaign, but sit with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss after 3 games. For the Seattle Sounders, I think this may be one of MLS's best chances to get to the finals this year. As we'll look at in a second, Seattle is on the easier side of the bracket, but they'll still have to come up against Liga MX beast Leon if they win this match. But Seattle is one of the deepest teams MLS has, and they've been one of the most competitive teams over the past few years. Seattle has experience in this competition, with this being their 7th appearance, but they haven't had the best time of recent. In 2020, they were knocked out in the round of 16 by Honduran club Olimpia in an upsetting fashion. But again, I think this is one of the most competitive MLS rosters out there. With Rui Diaz, João Paulo, Stefan Frei, and Arriaga, this team has talent in every position. Then you include the possible introductions of Ladero and Jordan Morris, you're talking about a team with a lot of different options. Seattle should 100% be winning this match, and that's what I think is going to happen. So when we look at our CCL bracket now and put in the results I'm predicting along with the other games, we then have Seattle versus León, Colorado versus NYCFC, the Revolution versus Pumas, and Cruz Azul versus Santos. I'm going to back Seattle to get through against the Liga MX opposition, NYCFC to take out Colorado, Pumas to defeat the Revs, and Cruz Azul to knock out Santos. Then, like I said, Seattle have the best odds to make the final, and I think in the final they'll come up against Cruz Azul. Now, until we get to that point in the tournament, I won't say anything else regarding that matchup. I know I'm going to get a bunch of Liga MX fans in the comments here, but could this be MLS's year? It's tough to have confidence after losing year after year, but you never know what's going to happen. Let me know your CCL predictions in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Psst. Go MLS!